Hello, everybody. My name is Hatzler. I'm going to present to you what we have done in the psychophysiology subgroup, which is a subgroup of working group 2. And also, I will try to make clear, what was our goals and why we think that our work is important, and we are very grateful that we could work together on this, and we'll have the opportunity to continue it also soon in August. So in general, it's a little bit strange because I can't see what you could see. In general, it's like you would expect that implementing physiological measures in the clinic and research is works like you do research, you create evidence, and there are clinical recommendations, and this is then relevant also for clinicians and creates visibility as well. And this worked quite well for male sexuality. So there are recommendations, and they are also linked to important outcomes of general health as well. For female sexuality, in contrast, it didn't work so well with physiological measures at least. And we still have the problem that there is a lack of evidence, there's a lack of clinical recommendations, and this is like a vicious circle that is actually also leading to the point that there is then also going on less research compared to male sexuality. But it is not that we don't know anything. We know a lot. We know a lot about the organs. We know about nerves. We know about blood vessels which go to the organs. And there are also a wide range of measures in psychophysiology that could be used in research and clinic. Yeah? But the problem is actually that they are not well validated, as stated here also in this review, and there is no possibility at the moment to correlate them with subjective measures, but also they are not really appropriate to measure sexual function and dysfunction. Yeah? So we can't discriminate cases which have like biological problems with physiological measures, and that's a bit of a pity, because actually that should be the least which is possible, but of course not the only, because as also said here, they should be always considered in the context of other data, also the patient history, physical examination, but also the psychological part in research, of course, with validated questionnaires, in clinic also with taking the patient history. So we need more research, but as there are not too many people doing like research in this area, especially in Europe, it is also a task to implement the research in your own lab. Yeah? In general, it's easy to know what you have to implement there in your lab, how it works, psychophysiology lab. So you have to have sexual stimuli, you have to have, of course, your participant, you have to have measures for the physiological response and the subjective response to the sexual stimuli. And this has to be implemented in a lab where the participant is on his own and in his privacy, and the researcher is in another room, and the two are connected to each other with cables that are going through the wall, as you see in the comic. So what I experienced when I started it was in 2019. I came to Berlin, to Charité, and I was like, okay, I got a room, which was already great, because rooms in universities are rare. And then we bought a lot of things that you might need in a psychophysiology lab. We had the hole at the wall, and then we had also very interested young researchers, yeah, who wanted to start doing scientific work, and who were really, really ambitious to start. Yeah. And then you plug in the vaginal plethysmograph and you get a signal like that. And then, of course, you ask yourself, wow, how can I explain this to my super ambitious and smart, bright young researchers when I haven't seen it my own yet? And then you need help. Yeah. And this was what happened to me. Eric, yeah, and suddenly I understood how this signal could be interpreted. Not that I can clinically use it, but for research and how to work with it, I learned it. So collaborations and working together is really crucial, and it's and you can't do it in these topics only on your. If you're like limited to your university or also your city, maybe sometimes also your country, yeah. So you need to network a little bit broader, and that's also a lot of fun, as you can imagine. So after I've known that for research, I still had the problem that for clinic, I couldn't really know how to proceed, so the conclusion is that it is full of gaps. For the clinic, it will be even longer way. And of course, there should be always the goal to not only focus on physiology. And this is in the medical world, and you've come from a medical university hospital. It is always hard to combine the two. So those who are also we are interdisciplinary many psychologists. It's different for you, but it's always important to take this with you in your research. I learned a lot about ISWISH for my clinical work, and the interesting thing that this society for me was super important to learn a lot of things, and I met there actually no one from Germany. There was one guy who's also here, who is like on the ISWISH fellow list. I think you're the only German guy, Johannes.
Officially
German speaking. Yeah, sorry, German speaking. Yeah. And so it was really hard to find somebody to collaborate with. And then, we had a strong belief that this should be possible. And then, we could establish a subgroup in the ISMN network, which was great. And we had the opportunity to work on that and to follow actually exactly what I just mentioned to make a change. So to have a network, to identify research protocols, but also strategies which can already be applied in the clinic. And we got together this nice group. We met in Berlin for the first time in October, and the second time we will meet this year in August. And we had a very condensed meeting where we were discussing a lot about like all those single methods that you have seen here. After we exchanged a bit what we are all doing, but it's a small group. Most of the group knew each other before, but then we really worked intensively on how we could make use of those measures that are already there, and maybe also do research for the development of new measures which are not already there. And it was it was a very intense weekend. It was very nice. Our main outcomes are those measures that we think it's very, very important to develop them further. But what we then did is actually we made something like decision trees for the physiological measures for different sexual dysfunctions, for female sexual dysfunctions, and a best practice psychophysiology unified protocol for research. Yeah. So we brought it all together, and now, of course, in a second meeting and also in between, afterwards, and before, we want to get this out. So because we want to to spread things so that more people use the same methods in research, but also in the clinic, so that these topics gain more visibility, but also the data gaps can be helped to be closed. So these are our ideas for our second meeting, and thank you to everyone, especially also for Marianne, Heidi, Jenny. You have been such a support in the organization of this meeting. Even if you haven't been there, it was really great, and I'm looking forward to August. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, very good. I was wondering, because my eyesight is not so good, is there something about brain imaging in your tool, in your research tool?
Well, it could be implemented as well, at least in the research protocol, but still. It is it is something really hard to use in the clinic. And it's very and it's also something which is like which has a high barrier as well. I mean, an MRI is also something which is quite expensive. Well, so the question would be if so many researchers would apply the same MRI. I mean, you could write maybe a paradigm that you could then use for in general. But I'm not an MRI researcher myself. Probably Jim could answer this much better, or Nicole. But Eric.
Okay. I think that's really. We're not ready for that. There's absolutely no data evidence that's specific enough for us to say what systems, areas, interactions are specifically relevant to sexual function or sexual response. So that basic research, yes, but we're focusing more on really aspects of genital physiologies and sexual response physiologically in the periphery.
Katarzyna Kłapylova from Prague. I was very unhappy that I was not in this meeting, but congratulations for doing this because it was highly necessary. My question that I always pose, did you, because this is perfect in terms of psychophys measures and recommendations, but you did not mention something that is very important, and in the basic research we always do these decisions, and this is about what are the stimuli and stimulation that is recommended and can be the one that really makes the diagnosis, So could you just briefly comment if you touch the topic and if you plan it?
Yeah, we had an intense discussion on it. Yeah, it's not that we didn't discuss it, but it is a very, very important question, and there are different views how you should do it the best. If you use videos, what kind of videos, or like audiovisual stimuli, but is it better to use like genital vibration as a stimuli? So because you can have a more standard stimuli, but this is
I think this is a very broad and uncovered topic because you can do whatever. If we don't have a good diagnostic tools, it doesn't mean to be the matter of the size of this measurement you use, but the stimulation can make really a difference, you know. So, like, yeah, but we can discuss it in follow-ups.
I could tell you my view, but we'll do later.
Thank you, Laura.